Hello and welcome to another episode of my Women in Sport, and I'm joined today with Laura. Good evening, Laura. And you play second row for Crewe and Nantwich ladies rugby. And I guess that would be a surprise to a lot of people because I think people have an image perhaps of rugby. But just tell us a little bit, first of all, how you got into playing rugby.
Okay, so I've always enjoyed watching rugby. So I've watched the Six Nations and kind of whenever England are playing. So and I really enjoy kind of physical, sporty, challenging type things. So but I never really thought about, okay, well, I'll absolutely, go and see if there's a team that I can go and play for. So my husband had started playing for another club locally, actually, and they were really supportive and really great. And I'd started a new job, and it was quite stressful, and it was taking over quite a lot of my life. And my husband was like, I think you need to do something that's not work. And because we both live quite far away from our families, we were we looked online and found Crewe and Nantwich, and that they had a ladies team. And I actually wimped out a couple of times. So they'd train on a Wednesday night, and I was like, oh, well, I'm coming back too late from work. And then finally, Sean, my husband, was like, Laura, you're going tonight, whether you want to or not. I know you want to. It's just you never. I don't think you ever lose that feeling of being a teenager and going into a new group of people who all know each other.
Exactly.
So that was about 2.5 years ago, and I've loved it, absolutely loved it. So I went to my first training session. I had no idea what I was doing. The only thing I knew about rugby was you run forward and you pass back. That's it. There are many other laws and rules, but at the time I had no idea. But it was great. It was really positive from a mental health perspective. As I said, I've been having quite a rough time at work, and just having to learn like a whole new job. And it was really nice to meet people. And there are people there of all different ages. So people who are still university students, all the way up to people in their 50s. I just turned 38 actually, so obviously it was quite late into rugby. But
so you actually started at that age then?
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
There's people there that have been playing since they were, young girls, and I look at them and go, rats! I wish I'd started earlier. They're so good. But the good thing is you can whatever age you are and whatever level of fitness, and you don't have to be like super fit. You don't have to, there's no right size or shape, because whatever your skill level, whatever what you're good at, there'll be a position for you somewhere that you can play. And so and they're just like a really lovely, supportive group of women, and especially during COVID, I think has been a really nice like support group, really, that we've still managed to keep in touch, still managed to do training online, and do socials and things like that. So that's kind of how I got into it, and just really fell in love with the sport, and the team, really.
And that's a lovely story, because it was so late on as well, and it just shows, particularly to the listeners who listen to what I do, they are of that age, so it's really, inspiring to know that you can join the team and fit in and be part of it at any stage in your life, really.
Yeah, and I think for me it's a really positive thing as well. And I, thank you for having us coming on this podcast, because the women in sport area is really key, because I think a lot of people see rugby as a very male dominated sport, and Crewe and Nantwich, I will say, are fantastic. They're really, really focused on both the kind of bringing up young girls and boys and trying to get them into sport and keep them in rugby. And so we do, for example, we work with our under 18s and younger girls teams to try and make sure that they keep engaged in the sport and see it through up until they get into the adults leagues. So it's really great for Crewe and Nantwich that they've really kind of focused on both male and female sports teams, because that's not the case everywhere. In other places they only have male teams. So actually it's a really, really great ethos at the club.
And as you said, that it's male and female, but also the other ages. So you said, did it start at 13, the rugby for girls?
So there's different age ranges for the so under 13s, under 15s, under 18s. There are also like Diddy rugby clubs. So for really little, really little people. So and it is really great, and there's quite a lot of research out there in terms of especially young girls kind of not being as involved in team sports or once they hit a certain age. So I think it's really great to kind of keep motivating them and keep seeing rugby as a really positive thing to keep going. And, you know, my husband, he is a teacher, and he actually started at his school a girls' rugby team, and some of those girls come and play for Crewe and Nantwich, and it's just a really fantastic kind of social support. It's obviously fitness, it's mental health and physical health, so there's lots of advantages. When I was younger, I never really played team sports. I played like tennis and swimming and things like that. They were all kind of solo sports, but actually it's really nice playing a team sport, because when you go into a game, the pressure's not all on you. I know sometimes you feel like that's the case. You're like, oh my God, I've just made a terrible mistake there. But actually it's a really nice kind of support network. And I see it with the kind of the younger girls. It's really nice to have that support team, possibly with people that they would not ever kind of hang around with usually as well. So not necessarily their group of friends at school, but just kind of widening their circle of friends, really.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. And I think I've read somewhere that young girls, particularly since COVID, have been doing more solo. But I think what people don't understand, with particularly with grassroots, is the friendships that are formed can be friendships for life then, can't they, as well, outside of a school environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so obviously the Vagrants, which is where we play, they don't just do rugby, so they have other sports as well. So they've got cricket and hockey, and they do lots of other things as well to kind of support the community. So and we as a team kind of contribute towards that. So they'll have events, for example, that people can get involved with. So they do like Santa Dashes. The other day, when we weren't in lockdown, I say the other day, we did a family event where they were doing kind of races for charity and things like that. So all the children kind of got medals for taking part. So it's just a really nice kind of community, and it has a massive impact on future aspirations, I think, as well. So a number of our so Tom Curry, who plays for England, started out at Crewe and Nantwich, and we've got players that have gone on to play for county level and Premiership and things like that. So, yeah, some really great opportunities for them potentially in the future.
Absolutely, yeah, in a supportive environment as well. I just wanted to go back on what you said about your mental health, and do you think it's because you had something else to focus on that's what helped your mental health when you started?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's such, you go, and during that kind of, so we train on a Wednesday evening, and then we play on a Sunday. And during the time that you're at training, you just don't think about your work, you don't think about your family, you don't think about all of the other things that you kind of are your concerns in life. You just go in, and because it's skill focused and fitness focused, you have to kind of put all your attention into what you're doing for that, hour and a half, 2 hours. And it just takes you don't also there's not people from my work aren't the people that I play rugby with, so it is a completely kind of separate entity for me, and it's just complete escapism, and it's really lovely. And if you but I suppose on the flip side is, if you are having a bad day, there's always people there that you can have a chat to. So we have kind of our WhatsApp groups so that we can share kind of different rugby skills videos with each other to help each other kind of progress. Or if somebody's had some bad news, or somebody's having a bit of a rough time, it's a really nice kind of supportive atmosphere. But yeah, when you go to training, it's just a really lovely environment, and you're not on your emails, you're not on a meeting or anything like that. You are just focused on just enjoying the game, really.
And just like you, there'll be others that that first step is daunting, but it sounds, you know, everybody's been there, so everybody remembers that first time of joining the team. So, you know, if people are listening, obviously you're not meeting at the moment, are you? But it's to perhaps consider it, ready for when we aren't in lockdown.
Well, that's it. And I probably class myself as quite a confident person generally. I'm quite outgoing. But it's just that taking the first step of something that you've never done before, and you've no idea whether you're going to like it or not. But I just, I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased that I did it, and it was a really, really kind of positive thing for me. And I think it's been really nice. Like, my family and friends have come to watch me play games. And being involved in kind of events and social events and things like that. So absolutely, if it's something that you think, whether you're at the end of a tether and you think, I just need to do something else. I think some people also worry about rugby because it's quite a physical sport, and they might be worried that you might be worried that you're not fit enough, or you don't know the game at all, so you're not really sure what you're meant to be doing. Don't worry, everybody. First couple of sessions, first year, I felt like I was just running around like a headless chicken, no idea where I was meant to be or what I was meant to be doing. I didn't know very much about kind of the positions or anything like that, so it was a really kind of, I had to learn quite a lot. But yeah, as I said, we have people there of all different, people who have played since they were a child. There are people who played when they were a child but haven't played since. So I've kind of said, well, I know a bit, but it's been a long time since I've played. People like me that have never played at all. So yeah, I would kind of encourage people just to, if you want to go and play, or if you want to even just go and give it a go, there's no pressure. You don't have to join or anything like that. We just kind of say, come along, have a go, see how you feel. You don't have to worry about having kit and everything like that. If you just get in contact with us, we can, usually we'll just have a chat with you and say, okay, well, let us know what shoe size you are, and you can just come in your trainers if you want. But if you want, we'll see if somebody else, one of the other ladies, has got a pair of boots that you can borrow for the session, just to see if you actually like it. We actually go back to face-to-face training. So the RFU have set out their kind of return to rugby. So we're actually going back to training next week. So next Wednesday, we'll be doing back kind of taking into account, we do a lot to make sure that there's kind of a lot of safety regulations, so that it's a safe environment. But yeah, absolutely, I'd encourage anybody that wants to give it a go.
And even just like you said, to perhaps go and watch. So you play at the Vagrants as well.
Yeah, so
people can go and watch and get a feel for it, can't they?
Yeah, so we're not. I don't think the league will start again this year. I think what the plan is that we'll have some friendlies. So yeah, we'll put those on our social media posts. So if anybody wants to come and come and watch those, but even if you want to just come and watch a training session, just to kind of understand and see if you want to do it, the best way probably to contact us is on social media. So if you just look for Crewe and Nantwich Women RFE.
And I share you quite a bit as well on my page. So, and I obviously share that page. But yeah, and I think, like you say, that there's the updates on there, so people will know, where you're up to. And in terms of a team, you're in a championship. Is that the right phrase that I would say?
Yeah. So we got promoted a couple of seasons ago. A couple of seasons ago. I'm losing track of seasons because we haven't really played this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the Women's Championship North 2. Which is really good. As I said, we got promoted at the end of the previous season. So it's a relatively good level of rugby. It's I think it's a couple of leagues under the Premiership, so it's pretty high league. But as I said, I started and I never played before, and I managed to kind of get onto the team, and I think that's one of the good things actually. So our team has kind of got an ethos, and we sat down at the beginning of this season actually to talk about what our kind of players' charter was going to be. So in relation to what do we value? How do we think people should be picked in the team? And so we do it not based on, just one thing, not just saying, okay, only the really excellent players will play. We do it based on attitude, attendance at training sessions. Now, obviously, we know people might not necessarily be able to come to every training session because they work shifts and things like that. So that's absolutely fine. on ability, but also on if it's safe for somebody to play. So we wouldn't want to put somebody on, in a game that we knew was going to be really, really kind of physical, and they didn't feel comfortable going on, and we thought, well, actually, maybe this isn't a good first game for you. So everybody in the women's team and like the coaching team as well kind of commit to that ethos and say, it's not just going to be the same players that go out every week and play 80 minutes. Everybody will have a go. And whether you come on as what we call like the subs, who will be the finishers. So you might only come on for 15 minutes in one game, but that's just to kind of build you up until you feel more comfortable. So yeah, it's really, really inclusive.
It's brilliant. I just think that's such a lovely story that you started, in your 30s. And I think one of our biggest things this year as a charity is to get people to redefine aging, and stop writing themselves off. So I think that's a great story to have. So thank you ever so much for your time. So it's Crewe and Nantwich ladies rugby team. I'll obviously share it on social media as well, but it's been really interesting, and I think it's a challenge for people to join teams, but I think once they've done it, that you've got that high all the time then, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you ever so much. That was really good.
No, thank you.